Our love will never end. I love you more than anything. Now I know what love is. Your embrace is everything to me. My kiss will linger longer. Yaya Diamonds Refresh Cologne for men.
And I am telling you, I am so excited about today. We have announcements, yo. I'm loving this. So, if you look to the screen, you will see that we have the Moon and Aries documentary coming out on Monday. Oh my gosh, these guys, they gave me clips. They did so much work. I am so proud of them. So, Moon and Aries documentary will be coming out Monday. That's right, Monday, guys. Monday. Woo! I'm so excited. So very excited about this whole documentary. It took a minute, and it's my very first one that I have actually, well, how would I say, not my very first documentary, my very first one that I actually helped to orchestrate. So that to me is just amazing. I've done documentaries before, but you guys, I'm excited about this. Okay, so and then now at 4 o'clock, we're going to have this gentleman here. He's gonna be talking about his parents. Yo, I mean, you have got to hear that. His parents were what? Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on the screen so that you guys can see that we're gonna be talking about some criminal parents here. Criminal parents. That's right. Crime, you guys. And I just wow. I mean, it just kind of, boggled me that someone would have such a story to tell about their own parents. So Dewey Reynolds will be on the show at 4 o'clock, and I will have him here in the next 10 minutes. But oh my gosh, I'm just so very excited. If you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask about his parents. Oh, yes. So, all right. So now we have here again the Moon and Aries documentaries coming out on Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss out. Don't miss that. Yes. And I also have a couple of the different things. Like we got a shout out here. Let me go ahead and take this off so you guys can see this. We have a shout out. So I do a lot of shout outs and I do a lot of different things and I do reviews. I am waiting for my sneakers in the mail, you guys. I am waiting for my sneakers in the mail. So let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and do this real quick. Let me see if I can get this up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go through some of the documentaries that we're going to be doing and also some shout outs and some interviews. I'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. We have Dewey Reynolds on the show. He's going to be talking about his latest book and you guys don't want to miss that. All right. I'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Hey guys, it's Yaya Diamond of Dream Chasers Radio. And I want to thank you so much for subscribing to Yaya Diamond's Dream Chasers Radio right here on... What do you mean you haven't subscribed? Well, you need to go over there and subscribe to Yaya Diamond's Dream Chasers Radio. That's youtube.com/Dream Chasers Radio. Right there. Right there. Subscribe. Excited about doing this, excited about having my guest on the show. I'm telling you, I am just so very excited. I just don't know what to do. I literally love doing this. I love my interviews. I love putting them up. I love people coming up and talking to me. So we're on right now Facebook, on my personal channel, as well as on Dream Chasers Radio. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as well as on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on the YouTube channel for our authors interviews. We're up there as well. And we're going to be putting this up on Vimeo and Roku and all Amazon Fire and everywhere else. I'm just so excited, guys. We're going to be coming live with our guests in a couple of minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, guys. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. We're coming down to it, guys. I'm excited. All right, all right, all right. So this wouldn't be an amazing interview without an amazing introduction. And let's go ahead and get started, guys. I am just, again, this, I haven't really done a lot of interviews live only because, I like pre-recorded. I like to make mistakes, but you're going to get all of that right now because this right here is going to be an amazing interview. And I don't want you guys to miss any live moment. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out this book on Amazon. Two Shades of Vice, based on the true story of an interracial couple's life together in crime. I'm sorry, guys. This right here, that's juicy. That's juicy. Okay, that's juicy. Okay, all right. So we have the author, of course, Dewey B. Reynolds, and this here is the action is hot in Kansas City during the 1960s. Gordon Reynolds happens to be a vicious criminal who has served prison time in 5 different states over a period of 25 years. Gordon is determined to muscle his way into major rackets such as prostitution, bootlegging whiskey, robbery, hijacking, and contraband cigarettes. He eventually meets up with Alla Briggs. She knows the prostitution racket very well since she worked the Kansas City streets for several years. She too has a lengthy rap sheet of 25 criminal convictions for the solicitation of prostitution. Gordon needs someone to help him operate his main bawdy house. Alame is the perfect recruit to help him forge stronger relations between his hookers and their customers. The collaboration of their experiences on the streets proves highly profitable, but unforeseen danger causes things to come crashing down all around them. Racist cops, ruthless gangsters, and white supremacist groups, jealous pimps, and rival hookers are the opposing forces that this interracial couple has destined to face. Crossing the racial line puts them at incredible odds with the law and fellow criminals alike. Based on the true story of how a white man and a black woman fell in love and broke all the rules in order to make their living together illegally, we have the author of this book, Two Shades of Vice, based on the true story of interracial couples' life together in crime by Dewey B. Reynolds. I want to welcome him to the show. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Thank you so much. That was a really wonderful introduction there. And I want to say to you, this is my first time meeting you, but I'm already a big fan of yours.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's true.
I
Yeah,
man,
you have an
I
infectious
wanted to.
personality.
Oh, thank you. But I wanted to like say that because you're like the kid of this whole thing. So did you
Yeah,
okay, so let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about this because this to me is like, what?
quite
Daddy?
amazing story. Oh yeah,
Mommy?
yes,
Okay. So
yes.
let's talk about this a little bit. Tell me about your story before you found out and how was your life before you knew what mom and dad were doing?
Well, it all what prompted me to uh, look into their background and to write even before I started writing the book was at 6 months old I was put into foster care and I
Mm,
became a ward of the state of Missouri. And the foster home was like so, semi abusive and everything. And so when I was emancipated out of the foster care system, I decided to check into my background because I wanted to know what got me there in the first place. So what I
mm,
did, I started looking into records of documentation. I went to the Division of Family Services here in Kansas City. I got records that documented my entire stay, the 15 and a half years I was in the same foster home. So what had happened was there were narratives within this documentation that said that my mother and father were both, hardened career criminals. I said, wow, okay, well, let me start looking more into that. I've already researched my own background, the things that were documented while I was in the foster home. So I go over to the police headquarters here in Kansas City. So I go over there and they giving me like all these got to show identification and all that and had to wait a while. But they're showing me like pages and pages of police reports, criminal rap sheets, and other things that explain all the crime and all the criminal activity that my mother and father, were involved in. So I decided. So after I had retrieved all this information and all these documents, these police reports, I started looking into them and reading over them and rereading over them, and I was just totally stunned by what I read, because
Mm.
I saw that they were into a little bit of everything. I mean, it was quite an amazing story. Them as an interracial couple in the early 1960s that were involved in crime together at a time that if you did something like that, not only cohabitate as an interracial couple, but also to, to be involved in crime together, be basically partners in crime. So I guess you could say they were taking their lives into their own hands, because there were 17 states in the United States where the anti-miscegenation laws were in full effect.
Right.
And Missouri, the state that I was born in, was one of the states. So that's what prompted me to really research it and really look into the story. And what I found out was truly amazing.
My goodness, my goodness. It's just amazing to me that that this would happen, but not only that, that they would team up. Like they fell in love over crime.
Oh yeah, it started out as a criminal duo and to make money together. But like I say, you had this black woman and this white man at a time when it wasn't fashionable to be an interracial couple. And they did fall in love with one another. And of course, I was born in 1964, so they would eventually go on to have me and everything.
I'm trying to figure out how that really happened. I mean, I know that she was over the prostitution and then he wanted to get into other things too, but he had her
Yeah.
run his whole thing of prostitution, and but he fell in love with her and they had a baby. They gave you up for to the foster care system, obviously, for whatever reason you ended up in there.
Yes.
But I'm trying to think, did you ever like get in touch with them afterwards? Were you ever connected with them afterwards, even just verbally?
Yeah. My father died in 1978 when I was 13. I got to meet him for the first and only time a month before he died. And he died from
Mm.
a massive heart attack at home. Of course, my mother found him. And I got to speak with him very briefly. And probably a month after I got to meet him for the first time, he died. My mother died in 1999. I definitely got to, I was able to establish a relationship with her. And we talked about them giving me up to the foster care system and everything at 6 months, because while they were operating this body house with all this vice going on there, I was a baby in that house. So it became too dangerous. So they decided, okay, well, are we going to take a chance of someone kicking in here and killing everybody in here, or are we going to take our child somewhere where we know that he'll be safe, and we won't have to worry about him ending up dead like us? So that's basically what happened. They dropped me off, and they found someone that started out as a babysitter, which eventually became my foster mother, and they never came back. So I was pretty much abandoned at 6 months old.
But abandoned with a purpose.
Yeah, with a purpose. There you go, with a purpose. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because
for
I mean,
safety
they really
reasons.
cared. They must have cared about you. They must have loved you to keep you for 6 months, but then realize that you were in danger
Oh yeah,
and
oh
they
yeah,
didn't want you to end up dead.
yeah.
That's hard.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So.
Yeah, yeah. And as you've matured and grown up, how do
Mhm.
you feel about that now, that decision, and how was your life?
Well, it wasn't easy. I can tell you that. I've hit a lot of bumps in the road, and you know, um, having grown up in the foster care system and not really having a true guidance that someone would have as they would have like two nurturing parents. But I pretty much have adjusted. I mean, I feel like I've turned out pretty good.
Hmm.
I mean, I've known people that have grown up in very loving, nurturing environments and that went astray, that turned bad. So I must say, I must give myself a little credit. I think I turned out okay. Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
having
You know,
haven't had a lot of hardships in my life. So yeah,
right. Yeah. Yeah. I understand. I mean, the foster care system isn't all great, I tell you that much.
yeah,
Um,
some
but
cases.
how do you feel about the decision that was
Mhm.
made to drop you off? Do you agree or disagree with that now?
Well, I disagree in the sense that because of their lifestyle, why would you bring children in this? But I don't think they were thinking about that. They was having a good time, and and then she ends up pregnant with me, and then she has me, And while they still got all this vice going on in this body house, I'm in the middle of this. So, like you said, they thought enough to, to try to get me somewhere safe where, my life wouldn't be in danger. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the wisest choice to make, but I guess they feel like they did what they had to do,
Yeah.
which is not
Wow.
excusable, of course. Yeah.
Right. Right. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. So when did you know that you had to write this book? What prompted you to get into this book and writing this book? I know that you said you researched a lot about your parents, and when you found out that wasn't something that you really probably wanted to hear.
Well, it wasn't necessarily something I wanted to hear, but having read over all the material and having done the extensive research that I did, I learned a lot about who they were and what they were involved in. And I just found it to be a truly amazing story because it was one of those rare stories. And I'd never heard of such a story before about an interracial couple being involved in crime on the level that they were. And having read over the police reports, the rap sheets, and even things that my mother had told me later on when I would get to know her and establish a relationship with her, she would tell me about the things that they were involved in this house and all the activity that was going on and everything. But I just decided after doing all my research and really, looking into, all the material I had and the criminal rap sheets and even people that were out on the streets that knew them, older people, they probably all passed on now. But I thought it
Mm-hmm.
would make an amazing story. And that's when I decided to bring all my material together and write this book.
Mm, mm. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Okay,
Yeah.
so you said you had a relationship with your mom. What
Yes.
was that like for you? Did it help the book? Did it help you heal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And my mother told me pretty much why they did what they had to do. Part of me agrees, part of me disagrees.
Mm,
But like I said, they felt they had to do what they had to do. But I learned a lot from her because she actually was a very wise, educated woman. She really was. And later on, I've learned to, accept her for who she was and what she did. Like I said, I didn't necessarily agree with it, but
right.
she would tell me some amazing stories about their life together as an interracial couple and the death threats that they got, all the, the bumps in the road that they had being involved. And it actually, like I said, yeah, it actually was, according to the law, it was illegal to be involved as an interracial couple. It was actually a law on the books that outlawed it. So they pretty much established their own rules and live their lives the way they wanted to, in spite of.
Mm, wow, wow. And
Mhm.
looking at these mug shots
Mhm.
and seeing, I mean, what did that feel like the first time that you realized that, wait a minute,
Uh-huh.
my parents were what?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that question because there was a she's retired from there. Her name was Yvette Bayless, very nice lady. She was in charge of the records department at the Kansas City Police headquarters, and she was the one gathering all this material for me over a period of time. And when she went to her microfilm, because I started researching this project like in the middle '90s, so it was probably over 20 years ago, and when she printed off the mug shots of my mother and father, and then that photo of them standing side by side at that right there, Vice had kicked in on them, and that's when they got arrested and did time for running that body house. But when I looked at the mug shots of both of them, standing next to Yvette was a police captain, I believe, on the KCPD, and also a
Hmm.
lieutenant. And those guys were like, "Wow, like who is that?" And Yvette had told them, "Oh, that's this guy's mother and father." And they were like, "Really?" And it's like they had got like a jolt. They had got like a real, like excitement out of that. It's like, why? And they it's like just looking at the police mug shots. I was kind of like thrown back, and they were like really, shocked and everything. And it was something that kind of like aroused them. It was like an arousal. So
Mm,
yeah, I was like, wow, that's my mother and father. And she was telling me, yeah, according to the microfilm material that's put inside on the film deal, that it explains that these mugshots were taken at this given time, and then the photo of them being arrested standing next to each other. I tell you, it was something that gave me a jolt. Oh yeah.
oh my gosh. And just looking at that, looking in that picture and
Hmm.
seeing that and knowing that it was your parents.
Hmm.
That's crazy. But the most crazy part is a lot of people say, there could be how would I say, an inheritance of the child, even though the child wasn't raised by the parents who were
Mhm,
criminals, that
mhm.
this child would grow up to be a criminal because that's in their blood. What do you
Oh
say
yeah.
to that? Because I've heard
Oh,
that a lot.
yeah. Well, we've heard the old saying, "The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree."
Hmm.
Um, because I'm a very spiritual man, so I'm very definitely my spiritual. So I believe that you know the spirit guides, the angels, the ancestors took my life in a different direction. I mean, through the guidance of the spiritual realm, and I could have easily ended up like them or even worse. But I believe it was something, on that other dimension that kept me on the straight and narrow, and kept me from going to jail or ended up dead somewhere on drugs or whatever. So, yeah, it's quite amazing. 'Cause I've heard a lot of people say that, like, "Wow, it's amazing you did not end up anything like them." So
Yeah,
it's quite amazing that I didn't. So
it is. It is. And so, do you have children of your own?
no, I never had children. Never been
Never
married.
had
Yeah.
children. Okay.
Mm,
And it's amazing that we as a product of parents can be so far away from the
mm,
parent, not knowing the parents,
mm.
but yet when we go search for the parents, we find things we don't want to find. What were you looking for when you started searching? Don't answer that question. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Guys, we are with Dewey B. Reynolds. He has like a long story. It's like, but it's a short story right now because we're right here. Okay. We're right here. But you don't want to miss this. This is the story of his parents, and let me tell you something. When he went to go and find out who his parents were, I am sure he had a shock. But not only that, when we come back, we're going to definitely talk about the book and about who he was expecting to find before he found his parents. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, guys. So we're back with our show today, and let me tell you something. I'm so excited about this show because, I mean, to find your parents after, okay, so you've been put up for adoption or you were raised in the foster care system, and all of a sudden you say, I want to know who my parents were. I want to do some research. So you get someone to help you out, and they help you, and lo and behold, you see this. Yeah. Two Shades of Vice, written by our guest today, Dewey B. Reynolds. He found out that his parents were criminal masterminds. I want to find out what he wanted to find out when he was searching for his parents. Welcome back to the show, Dewey Reynolds.
Y'all, thank you. Thank you. Good to be
Hey,
back.
thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
Okay, so we know who your parents are. We see them there. They're there. But who did you want to be your parents when you started looking for them? Who did you want to find?
Well, I mean, for a lot of years, from having been abandoned by them at 6 months and not knowing who they were, what they looked like for so many years, I guess I'm like any other person. When they've been shuttled into the system, they never really knew who their real parents were. They want to find out, just to find closure, and that's exactly what I was looking for, was closure. I want to know what my mother and father looked like. I want to know what kind of people they were and everything. And my foster mother would tell me stories. Other people would tell me stories, but I wanted to find out on my own. And like I said, when I got old enough, I went to the Division of Family Services to find records. And in those records, I just happened to stumble upon a little information about who they were. And I'd met my mother prior to that, but I just I would ask her questions. She would tell me, but I kind of wanted to venture off on my own and find out some things by myself. And like I said, I just happened to stumble upon the fact that it talked about that they were both, career hardened criminals and what they were involved with. So by researching further, I go over to Kansas City, Missouri police headquarters. They give me over 100 something pages of police reports and then criminal rap sheets and stuff. And I said, this is truly a rare, amazing story, because I've never personally ever heard of a story like that before. So I felt like it could be one hell of a story told in nonfiction, true crime form.
Okay, so you got the all the history, you got that. You're like, okay, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. You got to be kidding me. But okay. I mean, did you kind of look at it and go, I'm so sorry. Are you sure? I mean, because I would have been like, excuse me, excuse me, sir. Yeah. You sure? I mean, literally, that would have been me. I mean, what did you do after you got that? Did you walk away in denial? I mean, what was that period after that for you psychologically?
Well, I was stunned. I mean, because you said what it was like after I had got my information and learned more about them and what they were about. I mean, I was stunned because the things that they were involved in. I mean, I was like, my God. I mean, like when I found those records, got those records over to the Division of Family, it said that my father had like 57 criminal convictions over X amount of years. My mother had 27, 28 criminal convictions for this, that, and the other. I'm like, my God, were they involved in all that? I mean, okay, good example, real quick. I'm looking at my father's criminal rap sheet, right? I'm looking at compulsory prostitution, strong arm robbery, burglary and larceny, hijacking, petty larceny, car theft, auto theft, burglary, and I mean it just went on and on. Selling bootleg whiskey, like God, and maybe even suspicion of murder, and the rap sheet just goes on and on. And then my mother was involved in prostitution, petty larceny, theft, just you name it. I'm like, my God, they were involved in all this. And then when they came together, it just became more pronounced because, like I said, he had already had his house up and running, and a lot of those stolen fence goods, and he was a hijacker. He hijacked trucks coming into Kansas City. They carried whiskey and beer and cigarettes, and clothes and meats.
These are your parents, though. It's not like some kind of Bonnie and Clyde thing where it's like a story or somebody else's parents. This is your parents.
Minus robbing banks and killing people, which is what Bonnie and Clyde were doing. They were almost like the interracial Bonnie and Clyde. Yes, ma'am. Very true. And see the way they came together was, here's the part I love to tell. My mother was out on the streets, and he had been watching her. And in a few of them police reports, he was known to the police as a known procurer, which was a known pimp. And he had been watching her. And when she got arrested, he went and got her out of jail. And when he bailed her out of jail, he gave her a proposition. He gave her maybe, I guess you say like in The Godfather, offer she couldn't refuse. And he put her in charge of his girls at the body house, the house, the vice house, or whatever, however you want, a good time house, whatever you want to call it. And she was in charge of his girls. So the tricks come to the house. She collect the money. They go upstairs with the girls, come down. They come down. She sell them some cigarettes, sell them maybe some drugs, and sell them some whiskey and sell them whatever. Basically, to be honest with you, my friend, they were criminals to the core. I mean, they were criminals all the way down to their core. And these police reports and rap sheets back all that up. All that's backed up by facts, not just hearsay or speculation. This is what they did, and it is documented.
My gosh, two shades of vice. Okay, so let's get into the book. When you decided that you were going to start writing the book,
Hmm.
what kind of prompted you to do that?
Yeah. Well, again, first of all, I thought it was an amazing story.
Hmm.
Something I'd never heard of. Even other people I talked to just to get their opinion. Oh no, I never what a interracial couple that were like in crime together, in serious crime together in the 60s. And back then, it was like I said, it was outlawed and it was not favorable in society. And if you got involved in interracial, you got death threats and everything. And so I just felt as though with the material that I had, the criminal rap sheets, the police reports and stuff that my mother had told me over the years, long before she had died, I felt bringing all that together, I could come up with a great book. It would make a great
Hmm.
story. And
Right.
for those people that do read it, which I hope a lot of people will read it, you will get so much out of it because not only does it take a chapter out of Kansas City history, but it also takes a chapter out of American history. And
Hmm.
just to know that these things did take place and what not only they dealt with as interracial, but maybe other interracial couples, how people were actually killed being involved as an interracial couple. So they lived dangerously on the edge. So all in all, just to say, yeah, because I had gathered all material and did all my research, I felt like I could come up with a great story, which I think that's what I did. It's a great
Hmm.
story.
Wow, wow. I think it's an amazing story. I think that you heard it, but I think that maybe in the long run, this was maybe for you as well. I mean,
Oh,
how do you cope with having this book out, knowing that these are your parents, but you weren't really involved with them, but the stigmatism is
mhm.
still there.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, but my attitude is such that we're not responsible for what other people do. We're responsible for
Right.
what we do. So I basically had no control over who they were, and I acknowledge that. I fully acknowledge that. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's something to be very proud of, but again, it tells a great story. It really does.
It
Something
does.
one of those rare stories that you rarely hear about. So I just felt compelled to write that because who's to say? Like I was telling a good friend of mine, who's to say that maybe my father wanted to tell the story before he died. Maybe my mother wanted, but
Mhm.
they never got around to it. They never thought how they could put together a story. So I feel as though maybe there's a strong possibility that the both of them have spoken to me from the grave.
Mm.
And okay, well, if we couldn't write the story, maybe our son can write the story.
Hmm. Wow, wow.
Yeah.
I have to say that this to me is just amazing just to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being on the show, first
Well,
of
thank
all.
you for having me. I appreciate it.
And I know you guys are coming in and out. I know that some people aren't off work yet, so I'm expecting some really cool comments later on, after you guys get off work and after you guys have a chance to see this. We're going to be promoting this video and promoting this interview because a lot of times what we find is we don't really truly know our parents.
Mhm.
We don't. And even if we live with them, we don't truly know them. So the parents that you did live with, how was
Mhm.
that for you? And then now your life today.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I pull out all stops. I'm the kind that can be brutally honest sometimes. I mean, the home was abusive, and there was a lot of neglect too. And but it was a home that was partially for foster children, and it was partially for handicapped individuals. And it really was not ran properly, and the foster parents were abusive and everything. And it necessarily wasn't a good experience for me, but thank God I feel like I'm pretty much most of the way healed behind that and everything, and I've just gone on to live my life, and I couldn't be happier because of the fact that I'm doing what I love to do, and I'm trying to live as much a productive life as I can, and try to make a difference in the world, and so I'm just happy with that. I really am. But
I hear
yeah,
you.
the experience of growing up in that foster home was not the greatest, but I've healed from it though. Yeah.
Mhm. I hear you. I hear you. We're going to
Mhm.
take a short break and we'll be right back. Where we ask Mr. Reynolds, hey, so the book, tell us about that book. What did you put in there? That's the juicy parts.
Oh, there's
Not all of it, but just a little bit. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. Ooh, Mr. Reynolds, I tell you what, this is
mhm.
crazy.
It is. I mean, I'm enjoying because
Like I said, that's crazy. You're enjoying
yeah.
it because of what? What are you enjoying? Because I know that I mean, to find out who your parents are
Uh-huh.
is great,
Yes.
but to find this
Mhm.
and then to write about it, tell me about that.
Well, like I said, I just well let me put it in this context. I just felt like it was just definitely one of those stories that had to be told. I mean, I couldn't just live out the rest of my life and go to the grave without not having told this story. I just felt like it had to be told. And
Mm,
let me be honest with you. There are some things mentioned in the book that I can never talk about on the airways with you right now. Okay, if you will. But as far as the sex, being, explicit, the language being very profane, the violence
mm,
being gratuitous. But all in all, that's the world that my mother and father and the people around them coexisted in. So there's no apologies there because that's the world that they had created for themselves and the one that they lived in. But it just tells a very powerful story from
mhm,
cover to cover, from start to finish. And I've actually got photos in there. I've got actual photocopies of like some of the criminal rap sheet and then the police reports. So there's just like a wealth of information. The book is very informative. It's very entertaining. It's very enlightening. And I think people that read it, they will get, as we say, I'm sitting up here doing an interview with you, but if they read the book, they'll get what you call more teeth into their bite. You'll really
mhm,
get the whole scope of the story, from what I'm telling you here in this interview. I mean, detail. Oh my God, the book is very well written, very detailed, and everything very well edited. And I just think people get so much out of it. I mean,
mhm.
from many walks of life, you'll walk away with something. I promise you.
Right, right. Wow,
Yeah.
wow. Well,
Mhm.
Mr. Reynolds, I mean, literally speaking, there is just so many different things that we could say. We could say, hey, make excuse for them. I mean, that I truly believe that they did what they thought was right with
Mhm.
their circumstance. And it wasn't right by you, I don't know, but it was
Mhm.
right for them. And maybe they did love you enough to say, I don't want this to happen to my child.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
I,
can't
I,
really
I
say.
believe that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Mhm.
So your mom in her later years, because you did get to know her, what was she like? And ultimately, did you got a good love out of that? Did you get a good love relationship with your mom after that? Was she
Oh,
still in,
definitely.
or did she come out already?
Did she what now?
Was she still into crime when you met her when she
No, no,
older?
no, no. What
Okay.
happened was this is after they had abandoned me, of course. But what had happened was after because the Vice Squad with the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, they had
Mhm.
been watching them, and they finally made their move. They kicked in on them. They found the drugs, like I said, the cigarettes, the whiskey, the beer, the prostitutes were upstairs. A couple of them upstairs with the trick. So they had enough on them to convict them and put them in jail. My mother did a little over 2 years. My father did because he had been in and out of jail so much. He had did like maybe 4 years. But when he got out, they got together. Actually, they got married. Yeah,
Mm,
they lived together up until the day he died, which, like I said, was in 1978 at the age of 72.
mhm.
And but I got to learn a lot from her. I really did. And after they both had gotten out of jail, that life of crime, they left it behind them. It was all because they were up in age. They would get up in age, and I guess they felt like they did all they could do. So they found another means of making their living. So they had left crime behind after they had Vice Squad had kicked in on them and put them in jail. And after they did their time in jail, they came together, got married, lived together until he died, and then that was that.
Wow. And the time that you did meet your father, what was said? Did he apologize? Did you guys try to
Yeah,
reconcile?
very, very
What was that?
remorseful. Oh yeah, he was very remorseful, and because see, now my mother was a black woman, but
Mm-hmm.
he had been married to two white women prior to her.
Mm.
Okay, and then let me throw this in there, yeah. He was born in 1905. She was born in 1931. So he actually was 26 years older than she was.
Wow, that's a
So he
gap.
had her, yeah, he had about some years, and he had almost children her age. So
Oh
so
my
he
gosh.
but he had been married a couple more times even before her, but even with them, he had been in and out of jail, and those families he had created with those other women, he abandoned them too. So he had a history of doing that. So yeah.
Mm, mm, mm.
Mhm.
That is amazing to hear. That is just, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay,
Yeah. I'm
so
still
two
saying
shades of
wow
ice.
too.
You were, oh, I just, I mean, I can't say nothing. I mean, because it's like, wow, to find that,
Are
but
you
then to
blown? Are you blown away,
write
my
about it.
friend?
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's just wow. I mean, I can't imagine, but I can imagine you writing the book. So writing the book and after you finish writing that book, how did it make you feel? Did you feel a little bit better about, well, maybe they did the right thing, maybe they didn't, but I got to know them at least.
Well, like again, I found closure by
Mm,
starting the book and finish it. It was
right.
therapeutic, and I felt like truly writing the book, I had something to say.
Hmm.
So I decided to go ahead and follow through and finish the book and publish it and all that. So I definitely found closure, and that was the key thing that I was looking for was closure.
Right. And that's what we need. We definitely need closure. And we definitely needed that. It makes me feel better that you got that. It also
Mhm.
makes me feel better that you can write about it and tell people, hey, these are my parents. And
Yeah.
the apple did fall far from the tree.
Yes. Yes, it did. Certainly
Yeah,
did.
definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely. I am so happy to have had you on the show. If you were to tell somebody something, if they found something in, the closet, as they say,
Yes.
how can they deal with this? Because you've seemed to come over this really well. I mean, think about it. I mean, you were put in the foster system at 6 months old because your parents you didn't know at the time were criminal masterminds. You got to know them before they died, at least your father, at least once or twice, then your mother and until she passed away. And
Mhm.
you are here an upstanding citizen, a person that loves, and understands, I mean, not to do bad and to,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So, I mean,
Oh
what
yeah.
would you tell someone?
Well, if you first of all, if you have a story to tell, do tell it. I mean, if you feel like you have something to say and you want to, write a book about it or tell your story, I say do so. And also, just because you start out in a bad situation does not mean you have to end up in a bad situation. So, some at some point, let's say you have been through abandonment, you've been through abuse or whatever. I think you have to really make peace with it, and you have to find closure. And whatever life that you have left on this earth, live it to the fullest.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I want to thank you so much for
Mhm.
being on the show. And I want to thank
Thank
you
you for
guys so
having me.
much. Oh, anytime. And I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to go ahead and go to the Amazon link that I want to put it in the description box below. So it is everywhere. It's Two Shades of Vice based on a true story of an interracial couple's life together. They're like the Bonnie and Clyde of their time, I'm telling you. And this is their son who wrote about his parents who he found. I mean, this is just amazing to me. The story is amazing. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and leave them in the description box below or in the comment section below. And we will definitely get back with you because, I mean, if you find something that you just don't want to find in your family, there's all different kinds of ways to deal with that. Mr. Reynolds, thank you again so much for being on the
Thank
show.
you
I
for having me. I
appreciate it.
appreciate it. I enjoyed talking with you. I really did.
Oh, thank you. And I enjoyed having you. And I
Thank
enjoyed having
you.
you guys too. Don't forget to subscribe, Dare to Be Different, and go check out that book for yourself. I am telling you right now, you're going to be surprised. you're definitely going to be surprised. But if you missed any of this interview, please go back and listen to it. It's on YouTube. It's on 2 channels on YouTube. It's on Facebook, and it'll be everywhere on Amazon as well as Roku a little bit later on today. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Mr. Reynolds, man, I tell you, one more time, if there
Yes.
was anything that you could tell people, because we have a couple people watching, but if there's anything you could tell people, what would you tell them about being an author?
Well, I'd say study the craft. I'd say do a lot of reading, and practice your writing. You know, write something every day, if not every day, every other day. And so a crossover between reading and writing, that if you want to get better, it's like anything else, you have to hone your craft and you have to be consistent. And you know, just keep on until, you know, you finish your story. You know, don't give up on it. And if you feel like you truly have something to say and you believe in what you're doing, then just take it all the way. Take it to the max, as I would say.